You really feel at this end of the house that you're in a totally different sphere, don't you?
Yeah,
You sort of forget that there's a big, long swimming pool in the sitting room over there. It just feels like a very separate place.
Well, that was Dad's intention, that Fred and I very much had our own space, so that as we grew up, we could become more independent, obviously still within the family unit, but we have our own acoustically private, was what Dad used to call it.
From the outset, Rick Paxton wanted a house that would be comfortable and easy to live in. But he also wanted his home to combine technological wizardry with environmental sensitivity. He incorporated energy efficiency systems which leave the house almost carbon neutral.
Now, I don't think I'm ever going to be able to get the chance to say this sentence again. I'm going to have a swim in the sitting room.
The swimming pool, while being outrageously flash, also acts as a massive heat sink, balancing the temperature of the rooms, all controlled by the house's computer system.
So when you're out in the sitting room, you've been looking at this swimming pool in your sitting room, this enormous, great big aquarium. It's rather odd, but when you're in here, you forget that there's a sitting room just outside the swimming pool. It's only when you stand up like this and you see the sofa and the table that you realise that you are actually swimming in the sitting room.
Deep beneath the floor, the first geothermal piles in the UK produce heat from the ground. A highly sophisticated air distribution system helps maintain the temperature throughout the building, monitored and controlled by the central computer. It's a house with a brain as well as a conscience. Designing a house for his own family gave Rick Paxton freedom to experiment. He pushed as far as he dared, while retaining a sense of fun. The computer-controlled lighting makes the living area feel like a nightclub. As day becomes night, Paxton House enters the party mode. 16-year-old Freddie obviously has a keen eye for what his dad did best.
My dad, he was a bit of a perfectionist, and sort of certain things, like most people would just buy a tap, go and buy a nice tap, you buy a pretty tap, but the taps, you know, he spent a month designing it so it would swivel and come up and down and change. I mean, and you could have bought the same tap and it'd probably been just as nice, but he's one of those people who just had to design it. Like, if we went on holiday, for instance, and we go to some nice house in France, he'd spend the first 2 days just completely moving around all the furniture until he found the best use of space. Because there's no sort of project he's worked on or done where he hasn't made the absolute best out of what was there. If that's something like the space that was there, he's utilised to the absolute max.
Well, this is a classic case.
Do you know what I mean? Completely landlocked site, no light. I mean, this is his little idea, so you can see see what you've got. So, like, you can think, you know, think what you've got.
You've got to keep it tidy, though, haven't you?
You've got to keep, but it doesn't really matter because it's just so you can see where stuff is. Because you know, you're always looking drawer, like, where's the bottle opener? See the bottle opener? It's there. Do you know what I mean? You get it. So, it's great. And this is my favourite thing in the house. Okay, it's called the magic drawer. It's some may say it's an empty drawer, but what you do is when you have dirty plates, you put them in here, and magically you close it, and they come out clean. I don't know how it is. I think there's something to do with a cleaning lady and the washing machines being there. But
it's something to do with your mother, the other side.
In between there, it's something amazing happens, because all the drawers go through both sides.
Friends, clients and family are coming for supper. Everyone is hugely impressed by Rick's work. Heidi's friend Judy loves the house and remembers Rick for his experimental approach.
He was like a kind of Victorian engineer, really. He was just that passion about everything that he did, about light, about hinges, about anything.
So he was a real pioneer in a lot of the things he did, particularly with all the technology and everything.
I mean, like the swimming pool, you know, the curve of the glass that took years and years and years to happen. I mean, he would never take no for an answer. Photographer
Charlie Stebbings thinks that architecture should be enjoyed, not endured.
Very often, I think sort of spaces impose a mood, especially in this instance. You get the changing mood of actually the elements outside, you know, the weather affecting the light inside. And you sort of can enjoy that mood swing better than if you're a more sort of curtained, darker, you know, carpeted, heavily
you're right.
interior designed space, and you can get architecture to appeal to the bon vivant. That you're on a winning formula.
And cheers to that.
And Rick was both, you know,
Fantastic.
bon vivant and.
Now that the grown-ups party is in full swing, Richard Paxton's zoning system comes into its own. Down the corridor behind the gull-wing doors are two more parties. Freddie's having a pre-birthday bash, and Katie has a few of her own friends around next door.
Such good fun last night, such a good dinner party, and an absolutely wonderful night's sleep. I think Freddie and his friends were up quite late, but because all the doors are hermetically sealed like a fridge, I didn't hear a thing, and it's fantastic. The nice thing is I've got my own little bathroom in my bedroom here. It's a lovely little sort of pod bathroom. But something did happen yesterday when I came in. Because Rick was very tricksy and likes to use lots of very subtle technology. I came to my sink, turned on my tap, and there we go, I've done it again. The shower goes off, so I've got my shoulder completely and utterly soaked. Then I tried to find the actual tap. There are two tiny little dots here. You just put your finger on the top of them, and the water comes out. It's absolutely amazing. It's quite difficult to control the power on the tap. And if you press it in the wrong way, it's rather like a geyser. But that's good. And that's very environmentally friendly. Once Mr. Tap Brain in there has decided that you've had enough water to brush your teeth, it turns itself off.
How many of us for breakfast? Shall I cook for Freddie and Katie as well?
No, I think Kate's asleep and Fred's already gone off to his match, so
Right,
I
okay.
think it's just the two of us.
She's terrific.
So, are you a man who can scramble?
I'm a man with modest scrambling capacity.
Time for me to get to grips with this frighteningly sophisticated kitchen.
So, once on, once off. That's all
Okay.
I can't even master turning on the tap.
How are you doing this morning, John?
I gotta admit, sometimes I feel a bit overwhelmed by all this futuristic technology and clever ergonomics.
Now, where's the toaster?
But it's a tribute to the Paxton's philosophy of design and living that this house is such an enjoyable place.
I'm doing fine.
I'm beginning to feel right at home here.
Thank you. Wow.
And architecture is about people. It's about how to make them feel secure and happy and give them good working environments and all of those things. And it should be, you should be better for it, not, you know,
Yeah.
not worse for it. It shouldn't be a tyranny.
It shouldn't be
and
a
I think there's a
tyranny,
lot
exactly.
of tyranny and a lot of arrogance, you know, generally around design, which in turn
And
make-
nothing
yeah.
seems to be wasted.
Yes.
Every
yes,
part of the property has a use.
Yes.
Now, that
yes.
use may be for enjoyment, but it's
Yeah.
still a use. There's nothing extraneous.
I think the other negative thing probably around design is that people value style over substance, but I guess that's part of our culture at the moment anyway. But you know, it really does. You know, a thoughtful piece of architecture actually resonates. You know, in a way that having the latest kettle or whatever, or you know, the latest bit of design just doesn't hack it. Just being swanky about it. Yeah,
Well,
I'm
actually,
just getting my
got cold.
coffee. Sorry, I'm talking too much. It's a problem.
Delicious.
Good. Oh, thank you.
Being green in a 21st century urban environment is arguably the greatest challenge for future housing design. Rick Paxton drew up a checklist of requirements for his new smart house. It makes baffling reading.
Rootling through a few things earlier with Heidi, we came across this smart house description, which is essentially a shopping list of the sort of things that the house of the future is going to have. And this house actually has natural ventilation, used to control heat gains, rainwater storage tank under the building, acts as a thermal buffer, underfloor pipes provide heating and cooling throughout, passive solar collection within the roof,
Low E argon-filled glazing reduces heat loss through the glass. Heat recovery mechanical ventilation units extracts from the bathrooms and provide a preheated or pre-cooled fresh air supply into the bedrooms and living space. There's computer and audio-visual wiring throughout, obviously. And then this, I love this. LON single-wired control bus and LON chips make the building fully smart with continuous data logging, monitoring and didactic feedback. It's going to be quite complicated living in the future. What sort of house would you design? Have you got your first...
Katie has clearly inherited her dad's passion for innovation.
Your first client comes along, what would you hope that he asks for?
Well, I think you've got to look at everything. The technologies are ever changing. So, like Dad, I'd be very interested in using sort of the current technologies of the time and looking at how we can build spaces that are amazing and bright to live in, but don't impact on our environment. I think more and more architects, and as we, I don't know, move on, we need to really begin to think about how we can design buildings in this way. Otherwise, we're not going to be around for much longer to keep designing them.
What would be your dream location? Because obviously location is one of the key issues.
I have to say I wouldn't mind doing a penthouse overlooking the Seine in Paris.
What a great weekend. Sadly, it's almost time for me to go, though. One last thing before I leave.
Now, I bought you some presents.
Oh, very tasteful.
There we go, very tastefully wrapped, very neatly. There we go, that's yours, well, you get two.
Have you had a good time?
I've had the most fantastic time. I'm really grateful. You've been the most fantastic host. And I've loved it. It's a really fun house. And that'll be my abiding memory.
Oh,
and I know it's very sad never to have met your dad, never to have met Rick. But I tell you what, there's a character in this house where I think that I've sort of met him through the character of the house, and through your enthusiasm and passion for it. You sort of feel. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I sort of feel like I know him a bit. Good cubes.
Oh,
Very appreciate
I tell
it.
you,
And if you paint noughts and crosses on them, you can play noughts and crosses. There we go. But with a little bit of quirk, because I thought that fitted with the house.
Excellent. Thank you very much.
It's the perfect balance of being sort of utilitarian, nice mug for your tea, and a little quirk. Put your biscuits underneath.
Oh,
you can't use chocolate biscuits though, so I've tried it out. And if you use chocolate biscuits, they melt and it all goes outside.
Helen can stick that.
Thank you so much. I've got a dash.
Oh, you've been a fabulous guest. Thank you so much.
I've really enjoyed it. Thank you so much. Great to meet you. Best of luck with everything.
Oh.
No, it was lovely
to meet you. And I wish you great success with your future career as an architect.
Thank you very
Maybe I'll come and stay in one of your houses one day.
Hopefully.
No, I'm going to show myself out.
Shall I come down?
No, I'm sure you've got plenty of buttons to... see you again.
I've never stayed in a house that fulfills the axiom of a machine for living quite as dramatically as this one. Part architecture